The execution chamber fell silent as the three human generals stood against the crystalline wall, their uniforms still bearing the insignia of Earth's defense forces. Commander Zekthor of the Galactic Empire watched with cold satisfaction as his soldiers raised their plasma rifles. These humans had dared to resist the Empire's annexation of their pitiful blue world. Now they would serve as an example. Any last words? Zekthor's translator chirped. General Martinez stood tall, her dark eyes unwavering. You have no idea what you've done. The plasma bolt struck true. 3 bodies crumpled to the floor. Across the galaxy, in a small apartment on Earth's moon colony, Bonnie sat bolt upright in bed, gasping. The nightmare had felt too real. Her mother's face, the blinding light, the certainty of death. She reached for her comm device with trembling hands, but deep down she already knew. The official message arrived moments later. General Isabella Martinez, executed by the Galactic Empire. Her mother was gone. Bonnie's grief lasted exactly 48 hours. Then something else took over, something cold, calculating, and utterly terrifying. She stood before her bathroom mirror, barely recognizing the woman staring back. Her mother had often joked about their family nickname, passed down through generations of warrior women. They call us Baba Yaga, she'd said with a grim smile. The boogeyman that monsters fear. Now it was time for the galaxy to remember why Earth soldiers were different. Otis found her 3 days later in an underground weapons facility, surrounded by holographic displays and classified military files. As her mother's former tactical officer and the closest thing Bonnie had to family now, he'd expected to find her mourning. Instead, he found something that made his blood run cold. "Bonnie, what are you doing?" he asked cautiously. She didn't look up from her work. "They killed 3 generals. Martinez, Chen, and Okonkwo. The Empire thinks this makes them strong. They don't understand humans very well, do they, Otis?" Otis moved closer, studying the data streams flowing across her screens. Ship manifests, security protocols, Imperial fleet movements, all classified, all highly illegal to possess. This is treason. If the Earth government finds out you're planning, the Earth government surrendered. Bonnie interrupted, her voice eerily calm. They chose survival over justice. I'm choosing something else. Over the following weeks, Otis watched Bonnie transform into something he'd only read about in classified psychological reports. Humans, the report said, possessed an unusual capacity for controlled rage. While most species became erratic and inefficient when emotional, humans could channel their fury into laser-focused determination. The military had a term for it: weaponized grief. Bonnie became its perfect embodiment. She started small. An Imperial supply depot mysteriously exploded. A high-ranking bureaucrat disappeared from his secured mansion. Propaganda broadcasts were hijacked with footage of the general's execution, broadcast to every corner of the Empire. At first, the Imperials dismissed these incidents as random terrorism. But then the pattern emerged. "They're calling her Baba Yaga," Otis said one evening, showing Bonnie the Imperial intelligence reports he'd intercepted. "The Empire thinks it's a code name for a large resistance cell. They don't realize it's just you." Bonnie smiled for the first time in months. It wasn't a pleasant expression. Let them think what they want. Fear is more effective when the source is mysterious. Commander Zekthor first heard the name during a strategy meeting. "Baba Yaga has struck again," his intelligence officer reported. The entire 7th Fleet's navigation systems were compromised. 3 destroyers collided during a routine patrol jump. Total losses, 2,000 personnel. "Who is this Baba Yaga?" Zekthor demanded. "Unknown, Commander. But the signature is human." Zekthor's blood ran cold. One human was doing this? Impossible. Humans were weak, emotional creatures. They had surrendered their world without firing a shot after witnessing the Empire's might. Yet the attacks continued, each more devastating than the last, each bearing the hallmark of intimate knowledge of Imperial systems. What Zekthor didn't know was that General Martinez had spent 20 years studying the Empire, preparing for eventual conflict. She'd shared everything with her daughter. Every weakness, every protocol, every arrogant assumption the Empire made about lesser species. Bonnie had inherited more than her mother's strategic mind. She'd inherited a detailed blueprint for the Empire's destruction. 6 months after the executions, Otis accompanied Bonnie to the Imperial Administrative Station orbiting Earth. They moved through the corridors like ghosts. Bonnie's security overrides opening every door. She'd learned those codes from her mother's encrypted files. updated them using stolen Imperial credentials, and walked through their security like it didn't exist. "This is suicide," Otis whispered as they approached the command center. "Even if we succeed, we'll never make it out." Bonnie's expression remained unchanged. "That's the difference between your species and mine, Otis. You survive, we endure. And sometimes endurance means making sure the monsters never forget what happens when they hurt us." They entered the command center during shift change, the moment of maximum chaos. Bonnie's hands flew across the main console, uploading a virus her mother had designed years ago. A final contingency plan that Martinez had prayed they'd never need. Within seconds, it spread through the Imperial network like wildfire, corrupting navigation systems, weapons arrays, and life support across 3 sectors. Alarms blared. Guards rushed in, plasma rifles raised. But Bonnie had already triggered the station's self-destruct sequence, setting it to detonate in 10 minutes, just enough time for the escape pods to evacuate everyone except the command staff. Commander Zekthor appeared on the view screen, his face twisted with rage and something else, fear. "You're the Baba Yaga." "No," Bonnie replied coldly. "I'm just one angry human. Imagine what happens when the rest of my planet decides to stop surrendering and start remembering who we are." Otis grabbed her arm. "Bonnie, we have to go." But she shook her head, accessing one final protocol. "Get to the pod, Otis. Someone needs to tell them this story. Tell them about Martinez, Chen, and Okonkwo. Tell them about Baba Yaga. Make sure every human knows what one of us can do when the Empire takes everything from us." "I'm not leaving you," Otis said firmly. Bonnie looked at him, truly looked at him, and for a moment, the ice in her expression melted. "Then I hope you're ready for what comes next." She triggered the emergency override, and suddenly, they were rocketing away from the station in a stolen Imperial shuttle. Behind them, the station exploded in a brilliant flash, taking Commander Zekthor and his entire command staff with it. "You had an escape plan," Otis said, relief and exasperation mixing in his voice. "I always have a plan," Bonnie replied. "My mother taught me that." News of the attack spread through the Empire like plasma through shields. The human who called herself Baba Yaga had destroyed an entire command station, crippled 3 sectors, and escaped. More importantly, she'd proven something the Empire had tried to ignore. Humans were not conquered. They were merely waiting. On Earth, in secret rooms and quiet gatherings, people began to whisper the name. Baba Yaga, the boogeyman, the monster that monsters feared. And they began to remember that before humanity had surrendered, they'd been warriors, explorers, survivors who'd clawed their way from caves to the stars. The Empire had executed 3 generals to send a message. Bonnie had sent one back. "We remember. We endure. And we never ever forgive." The Baba Yaga had been unleashed, and the galaxy would never be the same.